There is a quote by Javier Milei that I think that the right wing in the West, and especially in America, would do great benefit to pay attention to.
Porque como dije en mi primer discurso, yo no vine acá a guiar corderos, vine a despertar leones y están despertando.
We need to awaken lions, not lead sheep. Now I must say, when I first heard this quote, I didn't think much of it. But as I began to realize the current state of conservative and right-wing politics in America, I began to realize that a lot of people are being led as sheep, and their inner nature as lions, these people who are courageous, is not being tapped into, which is one of the reasons why I'm making this video. It is my sincere belief that the right needs to have a blend of culture, but not just culture, principles, most importantly, philosophical principles, in order to win the battle against the anti-civilizational, third worldist barbarians that seek to destroy Western civilization, that seek to demean everyone by pretending that society and civilization is just one big power struggle, and that also seek to annihilate the meaning of some basic concepts, some basic fundamental concepts, like gender, sex, whatever, what have you, in society. And I'm not just trying to attack the woke left, for there are also elements of the extreme right that wish to destroy Western civilization as well. So it's incumbent upon us to understand a few basic principles if we wish to issue a bulwark against these type of people. But let's say one thing before we get started on this. Oftentimes, I think a lot of people, and I'll get into this in a second, are addicted to entertainment. They are addicted to sensationalism, and their understanding of politics, culture, and society does not exist outside of some tense power relationship that in their minds is necessary condition of things in the world. This is the wrong approach. Not only is this the wrong approach, but when we talk about awakening lions, we have to think to ourselves, what is the best way to stoke courage in man? It's not by embracing doomerism. It's not by allowing your emotions to overtake your reason. It's not by doing anything like that. It's not about owning the libs. You awaken courage by understanding courage. And you understand courage by tapping into some very basic principles of your human nature, which is what the conservative political project is all about. The problem is, too many people in America don't know what it means to be a conservative. They believe that it simply means to be a reactionary and to oppose something, but they never actually ask themselves, what do I stand for? What are the universal values that I stand for? And conservatism, to my mind, simply means you recognize the importance of inherent, transcendent, universal values that are located in nature, that are located in the reality, in the nature of things. And then you try to translate those with great prudence into society to create a just and moral political and social order. But far too many of us simply have positions, but we don't have convictions. It's possible to have a position, but lack a conviction. Let me give you an example. You may say, well, I'm pro-life. But if you don't understand what that phrase actually means in reality, and you simply have that position because you're reacting to nihilists who don't believe life has any fundamental value in its earliest stages, then you're not really pro-life, you're playing a caricature of a position. So that's all I have to say about that. But there are several principles that I believe could benefit the right wing right now on our quest to ascendancy. Number one, we have to value edification over entertainment. A lot of us don't actually look at the inner workings of our political systems and our cultural systems and ask ourselves why are they the way that they are. The few who do on the right, the post-liberals, in my opinion, get the entirely wrong answer. They believe the entire situation is to blame because there's an American emphasis on freedom, and so we should throw that emphasis away because it hasn't worked. That's not the case at all. In fact, a lot of what we're seeing right now in the culture is a rejection of freedom, not the evidence of freedom. But more people would understand this if there was an emphasis on education. But with movies like Lady Ballers and antics like Steven Crowder's Change My Mind, which, by the way, in their own rights, both of those things can be fine. I'm not saying they're bad in general. But when those two things are taken, and things like that are taken as commentary, serious social commentary, and victories in the culture war, then our minds become muddled because we don't actually understand what's going on. We have a picture, a caricature, an incredibly compressed image of what's going on. But far too many people enjoy being entertained. Not enough people enjoy being edified. And by the way, this is simply a facet of human nature. More people like gladiator fights than they do intellectual debates throughout human nature, throughout human history. And that's understandable. But man is ascendant not because he caters to his base passions, but because he uses his mind to overcome his urges. That's why civilization exists, because man was able to suppress his urges and go towards higher order things. And if we want our political project to be successful, we have to take a very critical eye towards the more entertainment-esque things that permeate the culture war on the right-wing side. Another example of what we can do, another principle we can embrace to win, is by posing reason as a value. The own the libs mentality, which simply says that if you're on the right, your goal should just be to tear down the opposition, fails because it views our interaction with the political world solely in terms of conflict and not in terms of anything else. It can actually benefit us in the long term. Conflict is a short-term solution to a specific issue. Conflict does not build societies. Unlike what Thomas Hobbes claimed in Leviathan, society is not built on hatred and fighting. It's built on cooperation and goodwill. And with our reason, we can more readily see when cooperation and goodwill are a good thing in the political context, and we can also see when conflict may be a good thing. But without reason, we cannot understand that. And the right likes to pride itself as being the more rational side, but every side has sacred cows. Every side has narratives, notions, and talking points they will not question. But I believe in the presence of reason, sacred cows, narratives, notions, and talking points would all fall down, and we would more critically examine what our worldview actually is, what is correct, and how to go about instituting what is correct in the best way possible. Another thing I want to mention is we can endorse healthy skepticism over informational nihilism. So on the right now, there is little question that so many people believe that we are in a post-truth era. And so many people will say that it's almost impossible to find the truth because of the people who are speaking information. They may say, well, this organization that I don't like says this. It can't be the truth because this organization did X, Y, and Z. It's actually gotten to the point where people would probably disagree that 2 + 2 = 4 if the NIH or the WEF said it. And by the way, it's good to have a skepticism and even a distrust of these organizations. I most certainly do. But it's not good to reduce the pursuit of knowledge to power conflicts and also to centralized organizations that in some cases we overestimate how important they are. The left believes that institutions create man, that institutions create the world. More generally, this is the Rousseauian idea, this is the progressive idea that was reflected back in the early 20th century. They believe that. As conservatives, we understand that there are eternal truths. Knowledge is objective. It can exist outside of society. But when we engage in this world where almost everything is a conspiracy, or everything is a plot to enslave us, or every piece of information has some kind of sinister motive behind it, we can't engage with the world. We will be trapped in an endless cycle of paranoia and reductionism that weakens our minds and therefore limits the possibilities that we have to create a flourishing society. Another thing I want to talk about is the principle of reconciliation over conflict. A lot of people in America are apolitical. A lot of folks who have no idea about politics on an intimate level, like you guys may have, or that I do, just think in generalities. They think in stereotypes. They think in certain thought patterns that are not refined. They're not sophisticated. But it was those same kind of people that stood up in Loudoun County when the late stage of progressive education, the attempt to indoctrinate kids with certain ideas, was coming to a head. And it's those same people that said to the Democratic Party that I don't know what I am ideologically, but I know in my spirit what is being taught to me and what I have seen during my time as a member of this party is not good, so I reject it. Those are the kind of people that the right needs to reach out to, not by diluting its message, not by being mealy-mouthed and wishy-washy and milquetoast like so many people are, but by standing on the righteous truth and speaking the truth in a manner that will allow those kind of ears to hear it. How you speak the truth is most certainly as important as the truth being spoken. And if we don't cast aspersions upon everybody who doesn't share our beliefs, or have assumptions about them that are incorrect, that we don't know from information or knowledge, we just know from stereotypes, then we can then get to a point where we can convince those people of what is true, what is right, what is correct, if we don't do those things. But if conflict is the focus, then almost certainly we will view we will have a hammer and view every person as a nail that we could whack. Last thing, diamonism over insularity. So many people on the political right confine their thinking to a set of terms and ideas they're comfortable with and refuse to go beyond those terms and ideas. Go woke, go broke is one of these ideas. The idea, for example, of crime in Democrat-run cities is another idea. I'm not saying these ideas are wrong, but I'm saying if we have our darlings, so to speak, and we just keep them close and we never go beyond them, we can't actually produce or find the best solution for the current cultural and political moment that we are in. We can't actually think through things in the best way. The number one goal to being a profound and effective thinker is to be willing to question your own premises, even the premises that you may have held on to for your whole life. This is uncomfortable. This is difficult. This is not easy. In fact, in some cases, it's disconcerting. But it's necessary. Because you can either discard what is not true and keep what's true, or you can refine what is true, which you already hold on to. I believe these principles, these philosophies, will allow the right to go beyond the current position it's in, being stuck in this odd area between nihilism and doomerism and entertainment that is presenting itself as information and mediocre thinking that comes from a lack of willingness to explore deeper implications of topics. All of these principles, if we actually use them, will help us, I think, forge a path to victory in the West against the enemies of truth, liberty, and virtue. My friends, like this video, comment on this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel. Donate to me if you want to help me get my message out there. I love you guys so much, and please study history, study philosophy, and stay pensive. Bye, everyone.